A very warm welcome to my channel Grow Joyfully. In this series of videos, I am explaining how I do vermicomposting at home in urban context. I've already shared 3 videos. I gave a general introduction to vermicomposting and explained the worm bin requirements and explained how to prepare the bedding material. I also spoke about the different species of worms and how to introduce the worms into the bin. I hope you have watched them. In this video, I'm going to talk about another very important activity, feeding the worm with greens. This is a very critical activity, and there are a few guidelines that I'm going to share in this video. Worms get their nutrition from 2 kinds of sources, the browns and the greens. Browns are present in the bedding. We create the bedding at the start of a batch. We fill the bedding with carbon-rich material up to 75% of the volume of the bin. Browns are slow to decompose. You'll find the bedding vanishing slowly as browns take more time to decompose. Browns are high in carbohydrates and carbon, and they supply the energy that the worms require. When most of the bedding is gone, it's time to do a replenishment. We call it as a top-up bedding, and I usually do a top-up bedding only once in a batch as I harvest once in 2 months. Some people prefer to harvest at less frequency, say once in 8 months or even 1 year. They will have to add top-up bedding many times as and when it reduces. The next category of feed is greens. This comes essentially from kitchen waste. Greens are rich in nitrogen and protein. They help the worms to breed and multiply. We feed the worms with greens more frequently, say once or twice a week, but in much smaller quantity compared to browns. I had spoken about bedding the brown matter earlier in a video. So in this video, I'm going to focus only on greens. First, let's learn what not to feed the worms. An acidic ambience is very dangerous for the worms. We are putting our worms at risk of dying when the acidity levels increase in the bin. So while worms do love fruits, we should avoid feeding them with citrus fruits or peels of citrus fruits like lemon, lime, pineapple, oranges, lots of tomatoes, etc. It's better to avoid meat, bones and other non-vegetarian stuff as well as dairy products. I do not have much experience with non-vegetarian stuff. Some people say worms can consume, but the smell of rotting non-vegetarian stuff can attract a lot of unwanted pests. And the same holds good for dairy products also. When the dairy product breaks down, there's a lot of odor that can attract a lot of bugs. Again, in an outside composter, we may try all of them, but we are better off avoiding these 2 categories completely in indoor vermicomposting context. Never add cooked food, processed food or sweets. Cooked foods contain oil, salt, and they are very harmful to the worms. Worms breathe through their skin, so a coat of oil will prevent them from breathing properly. Similarly, salt can result in becoming a potential irritant, and that can actually burn the worm's skin. Avoid cooked food like biryani, pulao, sambar, etc. Similarly, processed food with a lot of preservatives are not good for us. They are not good for worms either. Never put leftover sweets like Mysore pak, doodh beda, jalebis, etc. into the bin. We say that worms do love sweets, but here we are talking about the sweetness that is present in beetroot, apple, etc. So no sugar, salt and oil for the worms. Also, avoid onions and garlic and their peels. They tend to make the bin too acidic for the worms, and they are also a little smelly, so that may attract a lot of pests. There is plenty that we can give to our worms from our kitchen waste alone. The first category is vegetable peels. In the last 5 years, I have found that literally all the vegetables which are available locally in South India are loved by the worms. So far, I have not found any vegetable which has been discarded or rejected by the worms. So I give them plenty of gourds, the rinds of pumpkin, ash gourd, ridge gourd, bottle gourd, bitter gourd, etc. Peels of carrot, beetroot and radish are loved by worms. So are the peels of raw banana, banana stem, banana flower coverings, etc. Even the heads of cauliflower, the discards of cabbage, capsicum, beans, brinjal, all of them are enjoyed by worms. Even the rinds of the peels of root vegetables like yam, colocasia, etc., I do give them occasionally. I predominantly give only peels of these vegetables. Sometimes I do get overripe vegetables discarded by a nearby vegetable shop, or vegetables that I forgot to use and discover them literally in the fridge. I find them unfit for cooking. Then I cut them into small pieces and give, and worms love them. Worms love to gorge on fruit peels as well. So I give them peels of apples, papaya, muskmelon, sapota, banana, watermelon, especially with the white rinds, is a very great favorite for the worms. In India, we are blessed with a variety of greens. We typically use the leaves and discard the stems. These stems are typically soft and worms love them. So, in short, I would suggest try using all the vegetable peels, fruit peels, and greens which are locally available at your end, and I'm sure the worms are going to love them. Let's now look at a very simple process that we can follow to get the feed ready for the worms. This is what I do as I cut the vegetables and fruits on a daily basis. Based on what we learnt in terms of what to give and what not to give, I select what I'm going to give for the worms. And I always ensure variety and balance. No single vegetable will be dominating. So some are water vegetables, some are fruits, and so on. And this collection happens on a daily basis. As far as possible, I try to cut the vegetable peels, fruit peels, and the stems of greens into smaller sizes because smaller pieces means greater surface area and microbes will get formed on them very easily. I collect them on a daily basis and I keep them in an airtight container in the kitchen itself. And this feed is going to be used only after a week, which means I collect for a week and then I use it so that the vegetable peels, fruit peels, etc. become a little decomposed and they get laden with microbes. That makes it easier for the worms to consume. In my next video, I will talk about some more important guidelines with respect to feeding the worms. Thank you for watching my video. Have a great day.